course on world history from the years of 1959 to 1962, but before we start this presentation, we're going to have to introduce ourselves, so let's get straight to it.
My name is Mihir. Let me be clear, dear. I rap like Shakespeare here. I'll make you have fear. Cheer.
It's Shanth present. Please hear me at present. Never misrepresent me. A super peasant. Yup, that would be pleasant. Cause I'm about to spit these lyrics as a special guest feature. Drip some knowledge on y'all like a history teacher. I make all my haters cry. When I rap, I don't tell lies. I don't even have to try. Yeah, I'm straight out of Mumbai.
Hi, my name's Ananth. Y'all thought it was done, never succumb, always overcome, never misjudge me. You can trust me, don't bust me, I'm lusty, not crusty. Though my skin may be rusty, now it's just me, you're trusty. You must be told the truth, no plan is foolproof. But we can't take this abuse, the dispute.
So uncouth.
Killing youth.
Knocking tooth.
Fake booth,
Stolen loot.
Buy sleuths.
Bad vermouth.
rotten fruit.
No root.
Lawsuits.
No suit.
This ain't no fountain of youth, it's the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. Now this here's making us mighty tired, cause we sure didn't make anything transpire. It's not our fault, we swear we're not liars, cause we didn't start the fire.
Oh!
Well, John Green, buddy, I think it's time to prove it to the world.
Alright. Hi, I'm John Green, and this is Crash Course World History. Let's begin today with a question. What is happiness? Happiness is something we strive for, it's something we live for, it's something that we desire the most. It gives us a purpose in life, so we're not flailing in obscurity.
But Mr. Green, how do we achieve happiness?
Well, that's a great question, me from the past, but what is the answer?
I think I know the answer. Mr. Green, happiness is like water. Water flows freely from the soul just like it flows from the Ganga river. And just like happiness, water and happiness can come from art and innovation. This can take many free forms, flowing freely from the soul.
So what are you getting at, Jignesh Green?
Essentially what I'm getting at is when you typically put
Yo! Ain't nobody got time for that. Roll the intro. Check it, dogs. Me and my boys here gonna start off with a crossword puzzle. You already know that any crossword puzzle is a homie, and they better know that there's a 5-letter word for a Ford that flopped.
Oh, Mr. Green, buddy, I'm not exactly sure of the answer, but if I were to guess, the Edsel was worse than a rotting cheese dosa.
My ace, Jignesh.
Mr. Green, I had one of those cars. The front car wasn't that bad. None of the other kids at school had it.
Oh, me from the past, you'll soon regret this decision to buy the Edsel. It wasn't innovative, but hideous. And the car failed after only 2 years.
He'd be like, yeah, this girl is straight dope though. Man, no disrespect, but you kinda stupid. Anyways, let's take a look at my thought bubble real quick.
Edsel Ford, son of Henry Ford.
He created a car that was meant to be the new premier car for the middle-class American.
Yeah, but instead it flopped harder than my man Bradley Beal.
Kind of a letdown for a great inventor, if you ask me.
Ford was so confident in his product that he spent $250 million on it. But instead of starting a revolution, he lost over $350 million. If you ask me, he should have put his money where his mouth was.
Most people think that the Edsel looked good, period. But Ford designers wanted to make a flashy car, so they hit on the idea of that wretched vertical grille.
But check it, dogs. That ugly little thing actually had a purpose. It allowed air to flow into the engine bed, which kept the engine cool. But in order to keep the Edsel running, the vertical grille had to be enormous, which in turn made it look uglier than David Beckham with cornrows.
Ugly, overpriced, overhyped, poorly timed, and poorly made. The Edsel car was shut down only after 2 years and went down in history as a failure.
As it turned out, the Edsel was the classic case of the wrong car for the wrong market at the wrong time.
Well, Mr. Green, the Edsel may have been a flop, but the other Ford models are pretty good.
That's right, me from the past. In fact, one unique thing about Ford automobiles is that they took a while to be integrated internationally. Such was the case with Russia, then known as USSR.
Yes, I agree with Mr. Green, sir. This lack of international assimilation was due to the intense rivalry between the USSR and the US during the Cold War, 1945 to 1991.
Yo, fam, I remember that one time that the USSR and the US came between gold knuckle blows with each other. It was all over an unauthorized military US spy plane called U-2.
Wow, I remember. You too remember about you too, brother?
Yes, I do.
You two know fully what we all know about U2.
Guys, can we please stay focused? Anyways, the U-2 plane was shot down by the USSR, and its pilot, Mr. Francis Gary Powers, was captured. This led to current US President Dwight David Eisenhower to admit to the Soviets that the US CIA had been spying on the USSR for several years.
Yeah, bro, that's just sus. The Soviets be like, hey, we see you spying on us. Stop spying on us. Because you spying on us, we're gonna take your pilot and we're gonna lock him in the slammer.
Very true, man. And then Eisenhower approved a plan to seek even more information about Russian capabilities and intentions. Yeah, the US was like, we've already angered them enough. Let's just keep angering them until they get united. We are rebels, man. Trust the authority, right?
Bro, leave rebelling to me.
Hold on, I think it's time for a brief reenactment.
Hi, I'm John Smith from the United States of America.
Hello, I'm Vlad, and I represent Mother Russia.
Russia is getting on my nerves due to this Cold War. I think we should spy on them to seek any possible advantage.
I see the US is spying on us. Now I'm angry. Death to America! At my call, shoot down those U-2s!
Oh no! One of our spy planes have just been shot down in Russia, and also one of our pilots has just been held captive. Well, we might just provoke them further. Screw Khrushchev, he'll never be my ally.
Two can play that game. Watch your back, America. My name is Vlad, and this is not the last you'll see of me.
Wait, Mr. Greens? I heard the whole cause about these conflicts in my history class. High-altitude U-2 spy planes began making recon flights over the USSR in 1956, giving the US its first detailed look at the Soviet military facilities.
Wow, you're awfully smart, me from the past.
I am you.
Well, that makes sense, given my large brain.
Oh, stop the flattery. Anyway, Mr. Green, although we Americans view Russian capturing our pilot as preposterous, we were at fault too. The US abused power at times, and we had no right to be leading spy missions on Russia or storing nuclear weapons in Turkey without Russia knowing.
Yo, right, home slice. But we're gonna get to that nuclear weaponry stuff later. But you know, abuse of power reminds me of something though, cause you know who really abuses power? It was that man Sigmund Rhee though. And that player completely played his people, but in the end, he played himself. Ah! So he can check himself before he wreck himself next time.
Yes, you are correct, Gangsta Green. Rhee was raised just as any other upper-class Korean child with a Confucian education, followed by Methodist schooling where he learned English.
But later, in 1896, he joined with other young Korean leaders to form the Independence Club, a group dedicated to seeking Korean independence from Japan, am I right?
And Mr. Jagdesh, I remember in 1919 he was elected in absentia to be the president of the newly established Korean Provisional Government in Shanghai.
That's right. And as soon as he was elected, he began campaigning for a policy of immediate independence and unification for his country. He soon built a mass political organization backed by strong armed squads and also backed by the police.
Dude, that man's kind of hardcore. But we're gonna take a brief look at my open letter. I will briefly be assuming the role of intellectual gangster John Green. As president, Rhee assumed dictatorial powers, tolerating little domestic opposition to his program. Rhee purged the National Assembly of members who opposed him, and even defied the United Nations during the Korea War, 1950 to 1953. He hoped that UN forces would continue to fight and eventually unite North and South Korea under one government. Also, there were government claims that the March 1960 elections gave Rhee over 90% of the popular vote. This provoked student-led demonstrations against election fraud, resulting in heavy casualties and demands for Rhee's resignation, which eventually occurred on April 27, 1960. Best wishes, your boy John Green.
Wow, thanks for that, intellectual John Green.
No problem, bro.
Well, back to normal, I guess. Corruption was not only limited to politics.
Yes, I remember in the 1950s, the corrupt DJs, they were blasting that Bollywood, man.
Such is the case with payola, a household word at the time.
Yeah, man, basically radios were a thing of the past because of the new DJs or disc jockeys.
Yup, DJs had full control of what they wanted to play on the radio, and you guessed it, they only played the best of the best music.
But what happened? The big, enormous recording companies, they wanted only their music to be played, so they bribed the DJs to play their music exclusively.
But Mr. Jignesh, did you know that this wasn't first seen as illegal? But later there were trials that went against the DJs who were bribed.
exactly me from the past, and some radio stations even took precautions by firing disc jockeys. Two names, Alan Freed and Dick Clark, were integral in the formation of rock and roll.
Unfortunately, Clark's career was threatened, and Freed, the man who gave rock and roll his name, was destroyed. But this is unlike my career.
Hit it, Jignesh!
Hold on, guys, wait. Okay, ready?
Thank you so much for that, Jignesh.
No problem.
Anyways, a certain president's career was similarly threatened for different reasons.
That would be President John F. Kennedy, Mr. Green. He was our 35th president, and might I add, the youngest president, almost as young as me. However, he suffered from secret health problems. He had colitis, prostatitis, asthma disease, and osteoporosis.
And did you know that during the 13 days of the Cuban Missile Crisis in October 1962, the US and the USSR brought the world to the brink of war? But on November 22nd, 1963, JFK was assassinated in Dallas, Texas. Barely even passed his first 1,000 days in office, and he became the youngest president to die. Being young really sucked for him, didn't it?
Yeah, and he began as a Democratic congressman, being voted into the Senate in 1953. Then in 1956, Kennedy almost got his vice presidential nomination. And finally, 4 years later, he became the first ballot nominee for President of the United States.
All of you know, he also became the first Roman Catholic president.
Yeah, bro, he be preaching, ask not what your country can do for you, ask what you can do for your country. His economic program brought the country into its longest sustained economic expansion since the World War II.
Speaking of expansion, the music industry expanded drastically during the 1950s. Specifically, there was one American who took America by storm, and his name was Chubby Checker.
You know, Mr. Green, his name was actually Ernest Evans. And he was born on October 3rd, 1941 in Spring Gully, South Carolina.
Did you know that he jump-started his career performing on them streets in Philly?
It was Dick Clark's wife, in fact, that came up with the name Chubby Checker, a reference to singer Fats Domino. Checker's first two singles, The Class and Dancing Dinosaur, were only minor hits.
Bernie Lowe, president of Cameo Parkway Records, encouraged him to perform his own version of The Twist, which was originally written and performed by Hank Ballard and was already having modest success on the charts.
In June of 1959, Chubby recorded The Twist. However, Bernie Lowe was not initially impressed, thought the performance was on a B-side. However, Chubby felt The Twist was something special to him and that he worked hard on.
The Twist was not only a #1 hit, but it was the thing that created the movement of dancing apart from the beat. Great for people like me.
Over the next few years, endless songs incorporating The Twist into his name sprang up, like Peppermint Twist, Twist and Shout, and Twist in the Night Away.
Exactly, and it was Checker's version and his accompanying dance routine that gave the song a new life. He became known as the King of the Twist.
Hey guys, what time is it?
It's time to twist! Hit it! We're gonna need audience participation on this.
Everyone needs to stand up.
Everyone stand up. Let's go!
Yeah.
Ready, guys?
Alright, let's go, guys.
Alright, it's really easy. Just go like this. Come on, Abdullah, get up! I'm counting on you, Claire. Come on!
Alright, Mrs. Dennis, let's see that one-legger.
Yes, Roger, come on. Let's go. Get up.
You can do it, you guys. Come on, come on,
Yes.
And Randy, let's go.
Support
Stand
over
up.
there.
Oh, look at Michael.
Jason, come on.
Come on, Jason.
Jason, come on.
Okay, guys, I'm getting tired. Let's just kind
At the time, Chubby Checker's dance moves were seen as pretty crazy.
Yes, sir. They're pretty psycho, in my opinion.
Well, not as psycho as, well, the movie Psycho, a thriller movie made by Alfred Hitchcock.
Indeed, Alfred Hitchcock's powerful, complex psychological thriller, Psycho, was made in 1960 and is known as the mother of all modern horror suspense films, which single-handedly ushered in an era of inferior screen slashers with bloodletting and graphic, shocking killings.
Yeah, and these crazy movies included corruptibility, voyeurism, human vulnerabilities, and even victimization. Yo, dogs, I think we should take a look at one of the most famous scenes from the movie.
He's wearing shorts, calm down.
Well, that is a thriller, if you ask me.
Mr. Green, I don't think it's as thrilling as doing the conga.
Me from the past, I think I've had enough dancing from you today.
But I love the conga.
Did you say Congo?
No, I didn't say.
That's exactly right. The Congo.
Did you know the Independent Republic of Congo was declared independent on June 30th, 1960?
In the 50s, a critical mass movement toward independence developed in Africa and was epitomized by Nkrumah's speech.
Mr. Green, I heard the Belgians initially decided to take a slow road to independence.
And bruh, this was a good idea because the Congo experienced a very stable period between 1945 and 1957. So for this reason, leaders were unaware of the problems developing beneath the surface.
By leaders, do you mean King Leopold II and the Belgian government? They were awesome, completely awesome, man.
That's exactly right. Patrice Lumumba, who led the Belgian government, decided to act on Nkrumah's 30-year independence plan, which stated the development of nations in Africa needed a ruling elite in Congo, which was a generation behind the British and French colonies.
I got some PK, Mr. Greens. And I remember my history class that in 1959, Lumumba instigated riots in Leopoldville. Then the Belgians panicked and withdrew from the Congo in less than 18 months.
And finally, by 1960, the whole area was independent, though there were very few educated or trained people.
And guess what, fam? The Belgians promised that they would remove any foreign soldiers from the Congo and that it would be declared an independent nation under a central government. Go Congo, bruh! No one else was able to overcome another government except for, wait for it,
unless you are the Mongols.
Moving on, Ernest Miller Hemingway was an American novelist, short story writer, and journalist born on July 21st, 1899.
His economical and understated style had a very powerful influence.
except